Hi, I'm in the cabin orchard today, and I'm spreading some pelletized lime. And the lime is to raise the pH level of the soil. This this orchard was on a sand hill, very little topsoil at all. As you can see, I don't mow it too often either, because the more you mow it, the more you lose water in the soil by evaporation. So usually I do take some Roundup a little bit around the tree, so it doesn't get bushes like that growing under it. But I just spread. The lime is a pelletized lime, which is a more fast-acting lime. So pelletized lime. 40-pound bags are about $5 a piece, and I just hand spread it, put it in a bucket, and spread it by hand. This is what the pelletized lime looks like. It's very fine, looks like little clay pellets, and I just take it and throw it by hand, and that's all. I wish I had a spare hand to hold the camera when I do it, but I don't, so off we go. So before I do that, let's take a look at some trees. Last fall, I took most of the fencing down around the trees, because most of the trees were large enough and tall enough that the deer couldn't get to them. A couple trees are still small, and I still have the protective fencing. My Richelieu tree over here, it's not small, but it has weak wood, meaning that the limbs like to droop a lot, and it's got a good load of apples this year. So I put a new fence around, and that fence is about 15 foot in diameter. Otherwise, most years the deer just get into the whole tree and strip it bare, except for maybe a few apples right in the middle. This year I want to get actually some Richelieu apples, so I can have a little bit more than just a taste test of them. And in order to do that, I have to protect it from the deer. Anything sticking out still gets nipped off. The deer really aren't interested in the apples right now. The apples are bitter, but they do love the leaves. I got to get this fence out a little bit more, get that apple inside. There, protect that apple. It's going to be a really good load of apples this year. On the Richelieu, they are a large apple. I've thinned them already. I probably could stand to thin them a little bit more. There's 3 in a bunch. Usually I only allow up to 2. It's not a really heavy load. It's like where the blossoms took, it's heavy, and then there's some branches without anything. It's like I missed 4 of them there in a bunch. I do see some russeting on the apple. That one, I don't know what got to that. Birds, I expect. I do see some rusting on the apples, probably caused by frost in the early spring, around blossom time. So I'm going to get some good apples off that this year. The trees that produced last year produced lighter this year. This is a Gold Rush. My first Gold Rush apples. I don't know if they'll get ripe. Gold Rush tend to get ripe in October up here, and we usually are mostly dormant. So we'll see if they get ripe. And then I guess the Gold Rush, you have to put them in the refrigerator storage for about a month or so before they're the best taste. This tree here I think is a Nova Easy Grow. And it's got a few apples on it. Small leaves on that tree. I have Gala up here. Gala seem to really attract the early bugs. They seem to get hit really hard. This is a small Honeycrisp tree. So they are growing. Get a little bit of worm damage, a little bit of larva damage or bug bites. There's one here too. Sometimes I pluck them off if they're really bad, like that, really warped. It'll probably fall off anyway. Otherwise, I leave some of them that are damaged, and they end up being deer food. This is a Honeycrisp also, and they're coming along pretty good. It's a lighter load this year. Last year was a heavy load. These two trees are Sun Fuji, and they didn't have anything last year, and this year they are loaded. I've thinned them once, and I probably should thin them again, but at this point I don't think thinning really helps too much. They've already produced their seeds, and that's taken a lot of energy out of the tree. Look at this upper branch is right down on top of the next lower branch already, and the apples aren't even maybe half size. This tree looks a little bit bigger apples. Maybe I thinned it a little better. So I have two Sun Fujis that are loaded. If you don't thin them, they will be smaller. Some of these trees produce large apples even if you don't thin them. The McCowan was a light or a heavy load last year, and it is a fairly good load this year. I thought it was pretty light, but where they took. Let me see that this thing doesn't always focus. So there's the McCowan. The McCowans sit in the tree. The apples are usually close together. They have a very short stem typically, and they'll a lot of times push themselves. If I could find one of these that was damaged, I'd remove it. I'm going to guess. That was kind of close together. Notice the short stem and a fairly closed top. Fairly closed top. It's really round. Not a very deep callus or deep end there in the stem. McCowan is I've said it before. It's a gourmet apple. It takes a little more care, and not a good pick for this orchard, because this orchard is basically supposed to, almost take care of itself. I spray it a little bit, but I'm not supposed to have to go in here and thin apples. And you really do have to thin apples on the McCowan, or it overproduces.